second part of In Touch this week, Crime Beat with Officer Don and
That was a
College
soda
Attorney
pop.
Ray Larson as he pops open his Diet Pepsi there. That's just what you need, more caffeine. It's better not. I'm trying to keep you off the caffeine before the show because you know you get all wired.
You know, I self-medicate.
Yeah.
Being sort of an ADD kind of guy, caffeine, essentially you're kind of self-medicating yourself because it's a stimulant, and that's how they deal with people like me who are busy thinking of half a dozen things at a time and trying to focus on one.
Well, we could give you one of those lazy cakes. Have you heard of the lazy cakes? They're melatonin-laced brownies, right? And I was talking about them on the radio show a couple of weeks ago and didn't think anything about it, but then I get this this email from KSP Intel where they're trying to locate these things because they're like, you know, we'd sure like to see one of those there, Officer Don. This company calls in trying to promote them. I didn't think about it. The issue with it, it's a brownie and they put melatonin in it. I guess they're supposed to be mimicking the marijuana brownies that people, I guess people still do that. But the fear is that kids, apparently high doses of melatonin is really bad on a kid, and they're afraid that a kid's going to OD on them. So anyway, we'll get you a lazy cake. It's legal.
No thanks.
It's legal.
No thanks.
Hey, let's talk about Tina Marie Hickey Powell, convicted of 5 counts of murder for her part in a sensational killing spree back in 1986. Now, you were part of the investigation and the prosecution.
I prosecuted that case. Mike Malone and I did.
It's a very interesting story. In fact, to talk to police officers who were involved in that when I was a detective, I guess we talked to Danny Gibbons was around then.
He was.
Fran Root was
Fran
around
Root,
then.
right.
And it was the kind of deal where you get your call out that they found a body, you're on call, you show up at a scene, and then they tap you on the shoulder and say, by the way, there's another body over here. And it was like that all night. They kept finding bodies around town. Tell us about this case.
Well, I was at home in bed, asleep, get the phone call like I do, that Mr. Larson, we have found a body we believe will be a homicide, and as a result I get up and go to the scene. And at this point they didn't have any suspects, and so I saw what I needed to see at the scene, and because it's always better to go to the scene and see it rather than just see pictures.
Where was the first crime scene?
It was off Old Mount Tabor Road, right off Richmond Road. There was a pizza joint there called Godfather's Pizza. And it was an interesting story. The owner, I guess it was the owner of the Godfather's Pizza franchise there, was all shook up. He didn't want this to be known as the Godfather's Pizza case. And so he kept...
Sure, that's just what you need.
So, at any rate, so I left the scene and I went home. And no sooner did I get back in bed than the phone rang. They said we found another body, and this was behind Sherwin-Williams over off Codell and
Richmond Road area, part of town.
well, yeah, it's off New Circle Road there, across from Freedom Dodge, or Quantrell. And so I went over there, and sure enough, there was another body. And it appeared that these people had been run over, and bullet wounds. Turns out that they were stabbed, run over, shot. And then while we were at the second one, they get a call at the scene that over on off Squires Road and Richmond Road, there was a field back there, and they found a car on fire. And at the scene of the fire, there were 3 more bodies. So what happens is that we then go there, and this turns into the subsequently arrested were Faye Foster, LaFonda Faye Foster, and Tina Hickey Powell. And the investigation went on, and we tried the case. And this was the longest trial I've ever been involved in. It took 6 weeks to try this case, and I lost 14 pounds during this trial because it's trials are stressful and they require all sorts of energy, that sort of thing.
Well, tell us about the motive. What made them kill 5 people in one night? What was the deal?
Well, Faye Foster and Tina Hickey Powell were, first of all, they're pretty rough women. They went over to a guy named Carlos Kern's apartment. He was 73 years old at the time. And they wanted some money from Carlos. And Carlos said no. And his wife, Virginia, said no. And so they gathered them all up in the car. I mean, they got mad, but they gathered those 2 in the car, and Trudy Harrell, and a guy named Theodore Sweet, and Roger Keene. They were all kind of misfits, this kind of misfits. But Carlos was getting some sort of disability, and he had money and that sort of thing. And so, but they didn't get him money, and so they were ticked off about it.
So did they meet all these victims at the same apartment?
They're all kind of there.
Okay, they're all there hanging out. They show up wanting money, and when they don't get money, they just load everybody up in the car.
Yeah, and I think they killed people. For example, I think that they had killed one of them, maybe Carlos, while he was in the car. And it's just driving around like Weekend with Bernie, kind of a movie. And then ultimately they had stopped to get bullets. They'd stopped to get these kind of things throughout the
So they had these people in the car with them. You
Yeah.
think they killed Carlos first?
I think we
You
don't
for sure.
know,
That's,
but
I
we think
understand.
so.
But the theory was, and what you presented was, it looks like they killed Carlos first, because you had no witnesses
That's
to this crime. Because they killed them all, and then at some point dumped his body.
No, they dumped. I think Trudy Harrell was the one they found in the Godfather's Pizza parking lot. That's the first body they found.
Okay.
Now we don't know which was first.
I got
You see, and then they found Virginia Kearns over behind Sherwin-Williams, and then they found all 3 of the guys were there. Roger, the reason that they left the car there and burned it was that they were running over everybody, and the differential, which is the gear between the rear tires in this car, got stuck on Roger's chest, and the car wouldn't move, you see, so they just burned the car, and in the process they burned Theodore Sweet and Roger.
Tune in to the following stations every Sunday to hear In Touch with Ray the DA and Officer Don. We hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned in for next week's episode.